Hi, I'm Alyssa Cobb. Come fly with AOPA. Well, even though spring is right around the corner, conditions were perfect this past weekend for some ice flying. Let's head to the Iceport 2023 fly-in in Minnesota.
I probably have more ice landings than I do landing on pavement. I just love the challenge. That was the whole impetus behind creating Iceport, is to give people a challenge to make them better pilots.
We're here in Isle, Minnesota, southeast side of Mille Lacs Lake. It's awesome to have the community here, to see all the locals, to have this family fun event, and to have people flying in from all over.
My name is Tim. My role today was to be able to plow these roads open so that we could get over 200 planes landed out here on the Lacs. We had one of the snowiest years we've had in recent memory up here, and maintaining these roads has been difficult all year. 100 hours have been put into maintaining it.
Generally, we like to plow it about a mile long. I think we are just shy of a mile this year because of some ice conditions, and we like to get about 80 to 100 feet wide. You don't need brakes at all. Actually, we tell you not to use brakes if you can. I thought, you know what, let's do something for everyone with wheels, and that was kind of the goal. Everybody should be able to land on the ice with wheels.
So I've had the restaurant for 7 years. It's called The Boathouse. I grew up here, so it's just very passionate about the lake, the ice, the history.
My name is Michael Olson. I am a Chief Warrant Officer 3 with the Minnesota State Patrol Flight Section. #1 ice landing for me out here, yes. It's a great event. This one obviously is very unique in that it's on the lake. A lot of airplanes here. We're one of the few helicopters that have been out here. There's a few smaller general aviation helicopters that came out.
It's pretty cool. I just found out we had 209 planes this year. Our last record was 152. So it's a pretty amazing, epic day.
We got a lot this year, but it's really not that. I don't want it to ever be commercialized. It's about the people, you know. I don't do nothing. I go out and I just make sure everyone's being as safe as they can. It's all them. I have nothing to do with it. They do all the work. If it wasn't for Max and the Boathouse and our volunteers, these guys want to do it, and they do a great job at it. Work is fun when you want to do it, you know?
It's hard to plan, but when you have a great year like this, it just makes it all worth it.
Well, it might be cold in much of the country, but I got to tell you, the aviation event season is heating up. Drop us a note in the comments below. Let us know what aviation events, fly-ins, air shows you're looking forward to attending most this year. Now, here are a few where you can connect with AOPA, so you're going to want to jot these down on your calendar. First, coming up is the Hoover Trophy Award Gala. We're going to be hosting that on March 22nd at Signature Flight Support Hangar 7 at Washington Reagan National Airport in DC. During that event, we're going to be honoring retired Senator Inhofe with the R.A. Bob Hoover Trophy and recognizing additional general aviation leaders and advocates and safety experts. It's going to be a great time. Check out the link in the description below where you can go and register for that event. All right, well, we hope to see you all at the Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo in Lakeland, Florida, coming up the end of March, beginning of April. We're going to have a whole campus there. You can see the AOPA sweepstakes Cessna 170B with all its latest mods. You can talk to AOPA staff. And we have a special deal for you, actually. If you haven't already bought your tickets, when you go buy your tickets, make sure to use this promo code. It's discount code AOPA701. And that's going to save you $30 on a weekly ticket or $5 on a daily ticket. So pretty good deal. I'm looking forward to going, and I hope to see you there as well. The Great Alaska Aviation Gathering is coming up May 6th and 7th. That's always kind of like the start of the flying season up in Alaska. And If you head there, you're going to be able to meet up with AOPA Northwest Regional Manager Brad Schuster and AOPA Alaska Regional Manager Tom George. So be sure to meet up with them. We're also excited for an upcoming aviator showcase at AOPA headquarters in Frederick, Maryland. That's going to be September 8th and 9th. So if you're, interested in buying any aircraft, aviation products, that kind of thing, be sure to come, and we'd love to have you there at our headquarters. Shortly after the AOPA Aviator Showcase is the Triple Tree Fly-In in South Carolina. That's going to be September 18th through 24th. We're going to be hosting the AOPA Oasis at that event, and we look forward to connecting with you there. I've been to the Triple Tree Fly-In. It's an absolute blast. It's a pristine grass strip and just impeccable Southern hospitality. If you've been, you know, and if you haven't, you got to go. Now let's check in at another aviation event. It's the Helicopter Association International's annual Heli-Expo this year in Atlanta, Georgia. And AOPA social media marketer Kayla McLeod-Hunt brings us some of the most interesting news from the show.
Yeah, Alyssa, I'm super excited to be here at Heli-Expo in Atlanta, Georgia this year. My home state, it doesn't get any better than that. I've had the privilege of meeting some wonderful people doing wonderful things in the helicopter industry, and I'd like to introduce you to one of them.
Hello, my name is Stuart McQuillan. I'm part of the National Veterans Vocational Village. We're here at HAI, and we're trying to expose everybody to our helicopter, which is the only helicopter adapted for paraplegic flight. I was the first. We have others flying now, and we just want to make it available for everybody. So what I'm going to do is give you a quick run through of how this system works and mimics a real leg. So I'm going to switch on. There'll be a little bit of noise because we've got a power system for this. And what we have is a coolie hat switch on top of the cyclic. So if I go right, you're going to get right pedal. If I go left, it'll go left. And it's very proportional. You can put very fine inputs in to make it work. Now it has redundancy, which is what everybody wants to know about. If I can also go up and down on this, should my primary system fail, I have redundancy here to operate these pedals. On the collective, I have additional controls because the weather could change. I might be flying a helicopter with hydraulics, and this will allow me, there's a light here, and you're going to see that change from red to green. And every time it goes from red to green, it's actually going to go from left to right on the pedals. So I have 3 lots of redundancy in a helicopter that is, when it comes out the factory, only has 1, and we have 3. I can also vent my system up here, and then no matter what I do, the pedals won't move, but a second pilot can fly the aircraft. Or I can simply just switch my system off completely.
Thanks, Kayla. Well, this week I'd like to tell you about some important AOPA efforts that we're doing right now to help protect general aviation. And first is that AOPA President Mark Baker testified on March 9th before the U.S. House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee's Aviation Subcommittee. That hearing was focused solely on securing the future of general aviation. And during his testimony, Mark brought up a long-standing issue that's facing thousands of pilots across the country, and that is high fees and a lack of transient parking at airports.
This has been one of the most frustrating issues since pilots in the community addressed the medical reform for GA pilots. I want to be clear, this is a national problem, not a one-off or a local issue. All federally obligated airports are subject to rules and regulations that impact safety and the users of the national system. All these airports should be required to treat all users the same when it comes to public access.
He said that this is especially troublesome when a pilot parks and they don't need or request FBO services, and then they're, hit with high fees afterward as a surprise. Second, the FAA has awarded nearly $500,000 to the AOPA Foundation through its FAA Aircraft Pilots Aviation Workforce Development Grants Program. This will allow AOPA to expand its You Can Fly high school STEM curriculum initiative by training more teachers in person. We already have the curriculum in more than 43 states, and it's engaging over 16,000 students. So this is going to be a great use for that grant. Finally, an update on the AOPA Extra 300L that Bruce Williams donated AOPA and the Air Safety Institute have been using this airplane for the last year and a half to create all kinds of educational articles and videos. And we're going to have it up for auction soon, March 20th actually, on Aircraft Bidder. And the proceeds from that are going to go to support all kinds of AOPA initiatives. Well, you can find out more about all these initiatives on the AOPA website. We're going to drop the links to these stories in the description below. All right, well, now I'd like to turn you to a classic aviation love story. Man finds derelict warbird, falls in love, and vows to bring it back to life to help share history with the next generation.
Flying this airplane is what I always thought being a pilot would be. You know, you get up there and there's just levers and pulleys and switches everywhere, and you're high up off the ground, and you start that engine up and the whole thing shudders to life, and you smell the oil and the avgas and the hydraulic fluid, and she's just shaking and rattling, and you're like, wow, I'm flying a freight train. You know, it's like this is a steam locomotive in the air. So it was purely accidental that I found the airplane. I was actually driving home from ground school for Republic Airways. I got off the highway in Columbus and started backtracking my way to Pittsburgh, and it was like 2 hours later, I came through this little area. It said Beach City, Ohio, and I never heard of it before. I'll never forget seeing the sign for the airport, and then there's a row of open air hangars, and then at the end of that hangar, I saw the tail of this thing. And it was this silver rudder with a white vertical stabilizer, and it was all torn and tattered. And I looked at it and I was like, is that seriously a DC-3? And came down the road, and sure enough, there she was sitting there, and just the most pitiful looking DC-3 you've ever seen. Just mold and fungus growing on it, and all kind of dirt and debris all over it, and the windows were all delaminated and frosted over, and tires were rotting into the ground. And I mean, my heart just broke, but I was like, holy crap. Like, so I pulled my truck over and I went over and just walked around this thing and was looking at it, and I was like, how can this just be sitting here rotting away like this? I remember walking up to the airplane, and I don't even know why I said this, but I said, I'm going to do something to save you. You deserve more than this, I'll be back. And I remember giving the prop a hug and just like walked to my truck, and I just kept staring at it. The owner did not want to sell the airplane at all. And I said, well, I'd like to restore it and fly it. And I said, I just need you to give me a chance. He said, I'll sell it to you for $100,000. And I said, I can't give you $100,000 right now, I don't have it. I said, I've got $25,000 to my name. He's like, you give me the $25,000, I'll give you a year to come up with the rest. So that was the deal. I gave him every penny I had. He had my money, and I had 1 year to come up with the rest of the money to get this thing, or he kept this and my money. Then I went to work on trying to fundraise, and I went to every business I could think of, every person I could think of. It took us almost a year to the date, but about a month or two before that 1 year, I came up with the remaining money, and we paid cash for this, which was a great day. But now I owned a DC-3 in the middle of nowhere in Ohio that hadn't flown in 24 years. So now it's like, okay, how are we gonna get this out of here? There wasn't anything on this airplane that worked at all. You know, we were afraid that the engines weren't even gonna turn over, you know, but after having about 3 or 4 experienced people look at it saying, you got a good airplane here and it just needs woken up. You know, there's nothing wrong with these engines. It was the confidence I needed to hear to make that work. You know, we kind of put a game plan together of what we needed to do to get it flyable. We just, you know, part by part, started knocking those items off the checklist. It took about 4 years to the point where we could ferry it here. It didn't hit me until halfway through the post-restoration flight that we were flying it. I was so focused on just every aspect of being a good test pilot at that point, you know, sticking to engine parameters and temperatures and watching everything, that it wasn't until I think our second or third lap around the airport that it actually hit me that I could just sit back and it's like, well, we're actually flying, we're flying it and it's done. You know, it's restored. We did what we set out to do. And all the research we did on the airplane never had a name. So I always called the airplane, you know, the baby, and somebody, I forget who it was, just said, oh, the Beach City baby. I was like, man, that has a really cool sound to it. So I said, we really ought to paint some nose art on this thing and give it an identity. And that Beach City Baby name kind of stuck. So Chad Hill stepped in with Django Studios, and Chad said, why don't I do a period era correct pinup, but make it to the likeness of your fiancée, Emily? So I asked her, and she was all for it. So Chad went to work, and that's what he came up with. And we fell in love with it immediately. We're like, oh, that looks perfect. Whenever we go to these air shows and different events, just like every other warbird, other than telling the World War II story, we also want to honor the World War II veterans. When we get a crew member or a C-47 pilot or someone that flew on DC-3s in World War II, it's that much more special. And they get to go sit in it one more time and get to hear it, get to see it. And watching the expression on their faces as they walk on this thing and get to sit in their seat again, they're right there again. It's 80 years ago, and they're 19 or 20 years old and like that, and the stuff that comes back to them and that they say and tell us about, you got to wonder how many decades that memory sat with cobwebs on it. And this airplane was the key to unlocking that drawer. It just makes it that much more meaningful that we have their signature in the airplane on the side of the cabin now. And we got that documented, hopefully for all time. But the airplane's doing its job, and it's one last time going out and saying thank you and giving them an opportunity to see it one more time. So it's really special.
Hey, Michelle, what a story. Now, can you just tell us a little bit more about the organization behind Beach City Baby and what they're trying to do with it?
Yeah, it's great what Jason and Vintage Wings Inc. is doing. In addition to restoring and maintaining the Beach City Baby, they also are dedicated to introducing the next generation of people into aviation. They have a really dedicated group of volunteers already, and some of those are teenagers, people just getting into aviation, and plenty of their volunteers have now started to consider careers in aviation just from their start, working with Beach City Baby. And they really make it a point to not just, when someone shows up, have them go clean something. They really try to get them involved right from the beginning, hands-on learning experience.
Oh, wow, that is really cool. Well, thanks for bringing that story to us. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Fly with AOPA. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all our latest videos. And finally, this week, we leave you with some awesome footage from Kyle Newsome. He's the founder and creator of the YouTube channel Aviators and Airplanes. It's a beautiful behind-the-scenes look at an air-to-air video shoot with our own Eric Webb in the AOPA Sweepstakes Cessna 170B and Ed Gormley in the Piper Cherokee 6. That's the photo platform plane. So we've included all of their handles below in the description so you can check out more cool aviation videos. And be sure to send in your favorite flying videos. You might just see them on an upcoming episode. And as always, if you're not already an AOPA pilot, we'd love for you to join us. Click the link at the end of the video to learn more. We'll see you next week.